Welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be diving in.
Today, we're looking at employee recognition, but really digging deeper than just, the nice to have stuff.
Right, we're moving it firmly into the strategic business imperative column. It's about results.
Exactly. We're zeroing in on peer-to-peer recognition, P2P. And, well, why it might just be one of the smartest, most cost-effective moves HR can make, financially speaking.
Yeah, and what's really interesting, I think, is this core idea behind P2P. It's about democratizing gratitude.
Democratizing gratitude. Okay, unpack that.
Well, it flips the script, instead of just top-down bonuses or the annual review praise.
Which often feels a bit disconnected.
Totally. This empowers colleagues, the people actually working side by side, to acknowledge each other's contributions.
Yeah.
Right when they happen.
Because they see things leadership just can't. The day-to-day stuff.
Precisely. They see the quiet wins, the extra effort on a tough project, the daily heroics that often fly under the radar for management.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive then. We're not talking about generic thanks emails.
No.
We're unpacking the actual framework needed to make P2P recognition work, focusing on the measurable business results.
And the behavioral science behind it. Why it actually sticks and drives change when so many other programs just fizzle out.
Right. This isn't corporate fluff. You're saying it's a strategy for retention, for profitability.
Absolutely. It's a core business strategy.
Okay, let's get straight into the numbers then, because you mentioned financial levers. The data here is pretty surprising, isn't it?
It really is. The statistics are undeniably strong.
Lay some on us.
Okay, so first, just effectiveness. Peer recognition is actually 35.7% more likely to positively impact financial results.
Wait, say that again?
35.7% more likely than manager-only recognition programs.
Wow. Okay, that's not marginal. Is that achievable for anyone, though, or just big tech companies with huge budgets?
The research suggests it's scalable. Size isn't the main barrier. It's about how you structure it, which we'll definitely get into.
Right.
But the big consistent win across the board, retention. Companies that get PDP right see, on average, a 31% drop in voluntary turnover.
Okay, stop there. 31% lower voluntary turnover. I mean, just that one stat. It practically pays for the whole program, doesn't it?
Pretty much. Think about recruitment costs, training, lost knowledge.
Yeah, it adds up fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that retention boost, it feeds directly into engagement.
Which we know drives other metrics.
Right. Highly engaged organizations and recognition is a huge driver of engagement. They're shown to be 23% more profitable.
23% more profit.
And they see 18% higher productivity. Plus, if you want that discretionary effort, that extra mile.
Everyone wants that.
Well, 90% of employees say they're more likely to put in extra effort when their work gets noticed, specifically noticed.
Okay, the business case seems solid. Financially, it makes sense. But if it's so powerful, why do so many recognition efforts just fall flat?
That brings us to the why, the behavioral science bit.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. Why does peer feedback hit differently psychologically?
It really boils down to, I think, 3 core psychological mechanisms that good PDP systems tap into.
Okay, number 1.
Timing. It's all about immediate feedback loops. Our brains are wired for it.
Instant gratification.
Sort of, yeah. Immediate reinforcement. If someone does something positive, something you want repeated, and they get recognized within, say, 24 to 48 hours.
That soon?
Yes. That connection between the action and the positive social reward gets cemented. A quarterly bonus or annual review just can't compete with that immediacy.
So if I see my colleague nail a presentation and I ping them some recognition right away, that's actually reinforcing that specific skill for them chemically.
You got it. It makes that behavior more likely to happen again. The second mechanism is social proof.
We copy what we see.
Basically, yes. Humans are social learners.
Yeah.
We model behavior that we see being celebrated and rewarded, especially by our peers. So when recognition is public within a team, it creates this, virtuous cycle. Recognizing one person for great teamwork effectively teaches the whole team what good teamwork looks like in your context.
It's like positive cultural contagion, much better than just sending out a memo on collaboration best practices.
Miles better. And the third point is intrinsic motivation.
Going beyond the paycheck.
Exactly. We often assume money's the prime motivator, right? But the data consistently shows something else. Around 67% of employees actually rate, praise, and commendation.
Simple praise.
Simple, specific praise as top motivators, often ranking it higher than financial incentives like bonuses.
Interesting.
That desire to be seen, to be valued by your peers, by your manager, it's a really deep, sustainable driver, much more than just transactional rewards.
Okay, powerful stuff, but it needs structure, you're saying.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
Just because recognition can be powerful doesn't mean any recognition works.
Hmm.
This is where programs often stumble. The big pitfall is the difference between generic fluff and meaningful, specific recognition. Without structure, you quickly get like forced praise syndrome.
Praise.
Yeah, or recognition inflation, where everyone's just saying great job all the time, maybe because they have to hit a quota and it just becomes noise, meaningless, transactional.
Okay, so avoid the generic good work this month.
Mm-hmm.
What does effective recognition actually sound like then? How do we make sure it lands properly?
Specificity. That is the absolute key, non-negotiable.
Okay.
Effective recognition needs to do three things. 1, name the specific action or behavior.
Got it.
2, explain the impact it had. Why did it matter?
Okay, so what?
Exactly. And 3, ideally, connect it back to an organizational value.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Instead of just, hey, thanks for your hard work, Bob.
Which is nice, but vague.
Right. Try this. I really want to recognize Sarah for her incredible attention to detail on the Miller account reconciliation last week. Her thorough check caught a calculation error that honestly could have cost us thousands and delayed the reporting. That level of diligence perfectly reflects our company value of accuracy first.
Okay. That paints a much clearer picture. It's specific, shows the impact, ties to a value. It becomes a mini case study almost, a teaching moment.
Precisely. It teaches everyone what good looks like.
So if specificity is the what, let's talk about the how. Because even the best intentions can fail with bad planning. We need that pre-implementation strategy, right, before any software gets rolled out.
Absolutely critical. The pre-launch phase sets the stage. Step 1 is, honestly, a tough one. Diagnosing your cultural readiness.
Culture readiness, meaning?
Meaning, is your organization actually ready for this?
Yeah.
If you have a culture with really deep silos or maybe a lack of trust between employees and leadership.
Or between employees themselves.
Right. Then launching a public recognition program can seriously backfire. It needs a foundation of psychological safety.
Because otherwise?
Otherwise, in a highly political environment, that recognition platform could be weaponized, used for clicks or point scoring, not genuine appreciation.
Oof. Okay, so you need some level of trust and collaboration before you start explicitly rewarding it.
You really do.
Then, step 2. Clear, measurable KPIs. Key performance indicators.
Get specific about goals.
Yes, goals like improve culture are just useless, too vague. You need concrete targets.
Like what?
Like aiming to reduce voluntary turnover in the engineering department by 15% in the first year. Or achieving a 75% monthly participation rate, meaning 75% of employees give at least one recognition each month. Things you can actually track and measure success against.
Okay, measurable goals. What about the day-to-day rules? Governance. How do you stop it becoming the Wild West?
Guardrails are essential. And we talked about timeliness. Aiming for that 24 to 48-hour window is a good guideline to reinforce behavior.
Frequency matters too. You don't want it to be overwhelming, but you need consistency. Maybe aiming for weekly feels about right for many teams.
And making sure everyone gets recognized, not just the usual suspects.
That's crucial. Inclusivity guidelines are key. Recognition must flow to all roles, especially those less visible ones, like your facilities team, the folks in accounts payable, maybe security staff. Their contributions are vital, but they're often overlooked by central management. The program design needs to intentionally include them.
Okay, that makes sense. So planning done, culture assessed, goal set. Now actually implementing it. The sources strongly advise against a big bang company-wide launch, right?
Absolutely. Resist that temptation. Pilot programs are your best friend here.
Why is that so critical?
Because that's where you find all the real-world problems. The tech glitches, the integration issues with your HR sister, the parts of the user experience that just don't land right.
And you find them on a smaller scale, less risk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Low risk, high learning. We usually recommend a pilot of about, say, 4 to 8 weeks. And use diverse teams.
Yeah.
Maybe pick 2 to 4 groups, some office-based, maybe a field team, perhaps an engineering pod.
But you get different perspectives, different workflows.
Right. You're stress testing the system and observing the human element.
So it's not just about tech testing, it's behavioral observation too.
Definitely. For example, maybe your pilot shows the engineering team collaborates constantly, but they just aren't logging recognitions frequently. Their participation rate is low.
Okay, what do you do then?
You don't just send a generic recognize more email. That doesn't work. You use targeted nudges based on their actual work.
Like
like prompts integrated into their workflow, perhaps via Slack or Teams, asking things like, who helped you squash that tricky bug this week? Or who reviewed your code and gave great feedback? Make it specific to their daily reality.
Got it. Tailor the prompts. And the platform itself needs to support all this smoothly, right? If the tool is a pain to use.
The whole thing dies.
Yeah.
The tech needs to be so seamless, it basically disappears into the background.
Key features.
Real-time capability is table stakes. But the absolute must-have is deep integration.
With what?
With your core HRS, your ADP, UKG, Workday, Velocity, whatever you use, and your communication tools like Slack or Teams.
Why is that integration so vital?
Because it's not just about sending a kudos notification. You need to link that rich recognition data. Who's giving, who's receiving, what values are being highlighted. Link it directly to performance reviews, to compensation planning, to turnover analysis within your HR system.
So the data doesn't just live in a silo, it becomes strategically useful.
Exactly. Otherwise, it's just nice to have data. And for any company with remote or field workers, it absolutely must be mobile-first designed, accessible anywhere.
Makes sense. Okay, launched, pilot successful, system integrated. How do we keep the momentum going? Initial enthusiasm often fades. What about sustained adoption? Managers seem key here.
Managers are arguably the most critical factor for long-term success. They're the culture catalysts.
The data backs that up.
Strongly. Sources show 72% of employees say recognition from their direct manager has the biggest impact on them.
72%. That's significant.
It is. But here's the disconnect.
Yeah.
Only about 22% of managers actually feel they've been properly trained or equipped to give effective, consistent recognition.
Yeah, huge gap.
Massive gap. So managers need specific training, not just a memo. Training on how to give specific feedback, when to do it, how to use the platform, maybe even tying recognition activity to their own performance metrics.
And they need to walk the talk.
Absolutely. Leadership modeling is powerful.
Right.
When the CEO or a senior VP actively uses the platform to recognize someone, maybe even an entry-level employee, that sends a huge signal throughout the organization. It says, this matters. We value this.
Okay, manager buy-in and training. What else helps bake recognition into the company's DNA?
Rituals and potentially gamification.
Rituals like?
Simple things. Maybe designating Recognition Fridays where teams share shoutouts, or starting Monday morning meetings with a quick recognition round. It creates a habit, a regular rhythm.
Makes it normal.
Exactly. And gamification, like point systems tied to recognition, can help. Data suggests points can increase participation by around 40%.
Why?
It adds a little tangible element, maybe tied to small rewards or company swag. It can boost that intrinsic motivation, make it a bit more fun, especially early on.
Important point, though. If we're tracking all this, we have to talk about bias. Relying on peer input. How do we make sure it's fair? That recognition isn't just going to the loudest voices or the people physically closest.
Yeah, this is where the platform's analytics become absolutely mission critical. You can't just launch and hope for the best. You have to actively monitor the data for bias.
What kinds of bias should we look for?
There are three main ones to watch out for. First, bias towards extroverts are the naturally more vocal people getting disproportionately recognized.
Okay.
Second, recency bias. Are people only getting kudos for something that happened yesterday, while consistent long-term contributions get overlooked?
That's a common one.
Very common. And third, especially relevant now, proximity bias.
The bias against remote or hybrid workers.
Exactly. People you don't physically see every day in the office. Are they getting less recognition than their in-office counterparts, even if their performance is equal or better?
So how do the analytics help fix that?
The platform should let you slice the data. Track recognition distribution by team, by location, by tenure, maybe even by self-identified demographics, if appropriate and legal in your context.
So you can spot imbalances.
Right. If the data shows, say, that your remote marketing team members are receiving 40% fewer recognitions than the ones in the office.
That's a red flag.
Big red flag.
Yeah.
And it's actionable data. Now you know you need to intervene. Maybe it requires targeted manager coaching for that team lead. Maybe specific communication campaigns highlighting remote work contributions. You're actively managing the flow of recognition, not just passively measuring it.
Managing the love, not just measuring it. I like that.
It sums it up. And all this effort, the structure, the training, the bias tracking, it all leads back to that crucial executive question. How do we measure success? What's the actual ROI?
Okay, let's talk metrics. What should companies aim for in terms of just usage? Participation rates.
You want high participation. Good targets to aim for are something like 70 to 80% of employees giving at least one recognition per month.
Okay, 70–80% giving.
And maybe 60 to 70% receiving recognition monthly. You also want decent frequency, maybe aiming for 2 to 4 recognitions given per employee per month on average.
But quantity isn't everything, right? We talked about specificity.
Exactly. Quantity without quality is just noise. So you also need quality metrics. Is the platform tracking message length? Can you somehow score specificity? Are recognitions being tagged against company values? And can you track that alignment?
And this data, this is what finally connects back to the bottom line, proves the value.
This is where you close the loop. You use your analytics to correlate recognition activity, frequency, quality, participation with your hard business outcomes.
Like retention.
Absolutely. Show that teams or individuals with higher recognition frequency have lower voluntary turnover rates. Correlate it with engagement survey scores. Link it to productivity metrics where possible. You build the case that recognition drives these positive outcomes.
And the financial justification becomes clear then.
It becomes undeniable. The numbers are often quite staggering. Organizations typically save around $3,400 per employee per year just from the reduction in voluntary turnover linked to effective recognition.
$3,400 per employee.
And when you look at the overall ROI for well-managed programs, we're often seeing figures in the range of 300 to 500% within 12 to 18 months.
300 to 500% ROI. That's
Yeah.
impressive, especially when you put the cost in context. What does a typical program cost?
It's surprisingly low, usually. Platform costs might be somewhere in the range of, say, $2 to $8 per employee per month,
Okay.
plus maybe $25 to $100 per employee annually for any associated rewards if you include those.
Which sounds like a lot until you compare it to.
The cost of replacing just one employee, which, depending on the role, is easily 50% to maybe even 200% of their annual salary once you factor in recruitment, onboarding, lost productivity.
So the cost of the program for potentially hundreds of employees might be less than the cost of replacing just 1 or 2 people who leave.
Exactly. The investment is almost trivial compared to the documented returns in retention, engagement, productivity, and ultimately profitability. So if we boil it all down, the key takeaway is this. P2P recognition isn't just a nice-to-have perk anymore. It's a strategic business decision.
Rooted in real science.
Deeply rooted in behavioral science. But success isn't automatic. It demands clear goals, strong rules built around specificity.
Seamless tech integration.
Crucial. And active, visible leadership modeling. Accountability matters.
And it's not a one-and-done thing, is it? You don't just switch on the software and walk away.
Not at all. Success is continuous. It needs ongoing management, iteration based on data, and a real commitment to fostering authentic, specific appreciation across the board.
Okay, final thought for our listeners then.
Right. We know the investment is relatively small, but the potential returns, especially on keeping your best people, are massive.
And replacing just one person can cost more than years of the program.
Precisely. So maybe the provocative thought to leave you with is this. Look at your organization right now. What specific, daily, perhaps even invisible contribution is happening today that's not being recognized? And more importantly, what's the actual quantifiable cost of that oversight to your bottom line?